Hi everyone, I'm Pauline Leb from Art Mag, and today I'm very happy to be with Touria el Glaoui, the founder of 154, a fair entirely dedicated to contemporary African art. Thank you for sharing your time, Touria. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Pauline.
My great pleasure. So, Touria, you launched 154 in London back in 2013, and I'd like to know the story behind, this exciting venture.
Okay, so as you might know, I'm the daughter of an artist that was quite established in Morocco called Hassan El Glaoui. So it's a mixture of both. When we started in 2013, I was, in a way, very involved with working in my professional life on the African continent, who I had the chance to discover completely, and very curious about the contemporary African art scene there. But then when I would come back to Europe, and the US where I was working, I couldn't find any trace of those wonderful artists I was discovering, while I was in those countries. So by doing a bit of research, I kind of realized that this was something where, in a way, the European market or the US market did not have access. I couldn't really pinpoint the fact that it was a question of them not going to Africa, or actually in the contemporary art market not having access, making, this conversation a bit more difficult. And at the same time, I kind of had an understanding of my father's career, on how the visibility was extremely important. In the beginning of his career, he had the chance to be in Europe, and in the US, to do a lot of international exhibitions. And I kind of figure out that the little link that was missing was international, visibility. So when I decided to really launch fully in this entrepreneurship, of building a 154, as a platform, for artists from the contemporary African, descent in general, I really understood that there was, one, a lack of access, for this continent and geography, and those artists, to be successful, they needed international visibility. They needed to be part of the international narrative of contemporary art, and that meant, creating, in a way, a platform where they would be included, and make sure that, the fair was the best medium for that, because it's obviously where the sales are happening, and a lot of the galleries representing those artists in 2013 were not accepted in international, mainstream art fair like Art Basel or Frieze. They were very limited to their gallery and not having, access to a lot of collectors. So when I started the project because I think I was passionate about the contemporary African art, world in general. But then I very soon realized how the mission was a bit bigger than this. It was artists that didn't have a voice into the contemporary art narrative, and it was very important that whatever I would do would, take that intention with us, making sure that we would, in a way, build this bridge, between, the geography of Africa and the African diaspora and the rest of the world. So we started in London in 2013. The first 154 was just 17 galleries coming from different countries in Africa and Europe. We had only one wing of Somerset House, and it was really about making sure that, this was a discovery for, people who were, in London for Frieze Week. Basically, we kind of like leveraged on the other fair to increase, the interest for what we were doing. And as soon as, we saw that the first year, we were sold out, the gallery did extremely well. And it was not about, the non-interest of the collectors, but rather the non-access, to it. We decided, to double in size the next year, and we kind of like grew organically, but like very fast into the London Art Week. But we realized as well that the problem was even bigger, in terms of recognition, visibility, inclusion, of all those artists. To be fair, also mainly Black artists, which was also a situation in 2013 that is, have made a lot of progress since, but the landscape was very, very different. So once we got the blueprint in London, where we did the fair in parallel to Frieze, and, made sure that, the galleries has as much visibility as artists, and being able to invite all those curators, exhibition producers, collectors, in those important capital city of the world. The next one seems to be New York, because we thought that where you had the strongest, in a way, art market in the world for contemporary art is in the US, and that also include the number of institutions, but also the numbers of collectors, that we wanted to make sure that those artists were part also of that ecosystem. So we kind of replicated the model in 2018 in New York for the first time. We started the fair there in parallel to the one we're doing in London, but like at different time, always around Frieze Week, to make sure we had the same kind of leverage on all the collectors being in town, during that particular week.
But with more exhibitors, correct?
More exhibitors. So we were no, so actually in New York we started also with 17 galleries, and then we're able to double in size. But it was more like trying to find the right introduction to make sure we're not also engaging a lot of galleries with us in a plan that might not work or will not work. What we know is it's an important investment for a lot of galleries to do those fairs. And it was quite important that that adventure, or that in a way confidence of the galleries towards 154, and exploring new markets was successful to them and to us. So it's almost like we were pioneering together. It was not about 154 trying to do something, but rather we were all aligned on the same mission of making sure this artist had an international market. They were becoming more mainstream. They were more visible to the rest of the world. So I think that was our story for London and New York. And I think we're happy that after COVID and all those different amazing things that happened to us over the few last years, that we were able to continue and manage to now in 2000, since 2000 I think 22, to be able to have the three fairs going on again. So as you know, London is in October, New York is in May, coming up very soon. And then, our biggest stream, and when I say our, is always me and my team, because it wouldn't be possible without the team, that has surrounded 154 over the years, to do, to go back on the African continent. And it was a very important moment as well for a lot of the African artists that we have represented over the years. That was very important to them and to us. But this plan was really in the making since the beginning. It's just we also understood how the market worked, that locally, on the African continent, most of the work was sold outside. So it was very important to create a 154 in a way, Africa, that would be sustainable, and make sure that we had
Brand now.
Yes, but like at the end of the day, we always see it as an amazing event, but it's very small. So it all has to make sense. It has to support itself to make it a repetitive event. So we never went where we said let's do it once and not try to do it again. So we were committed to at least make it for 3 years and see how the market will take it on. And I think the important part for us was to make sure that, the followers of 154 would come back and follow us in Marrakesh to sustain the demand and, make sure that the galleries, had enough collectors, to make it, a commercial, viable initiative, coming back to Africa. And I'm very happy to say, sorry.
No, please.
No, that Marrakesh has been a success since we started it. So it was
Because that was going to be my question. So please, because I enjoy very much this fifth edition. So I was
yes,
going to hear your feedback.
yes. And actually, it's the most different one of all of them. To be fair, because it's one where we really implicated with the city itself, and the different, cultural platforms, cultural initiatives in Marrakesh. I think in a way, they really needed 154 to come to Marrakesh, but at the same time, we really need the whole ecosystem of Marrakesh to make it a success as well. So it is a place where we're trying to really make sure that there's a cultural exchange between, the people who are coming over to see, and discover not only 154, because it's a really small part of the whole program, but like making sure that they are more engaged with the different, institutions that we have in Morocco, but also um,
Galleries,
the
with the
galleries, for
galleries. And
sure, galleries who also over the years, which is very flattering for 154, but a lot of the galleries from Morocco or from Marrakesh who are often based in Casablanca, because this is where, in a way, it's the industrial city, and this is where the collectors from Morocco are often based. They have moved to have all a second space in Marrakesh since 154 has been, existing there. So it is a complement for 154, but it's also a complement for the ecosystem that is building up, in Marrakesh. That makes sense, commercially for them to have two spaces, one in London, one in Casablanca, and one in Marrakesh. But you have also very important artist-led initiative, from artists themselves, creating amazing things, locally, that are always, very popular with the visitors. The artist studios are amazing. The artist residency that you have in Marrakesh are also quite impressive. So, I mean, the reality is that the feeling of everybody, and you can, share your own feeling. It will be nice to hear, but it's always this hospitality and cultural, vibe that you find, that the city is creating with us, but it wouldn't exist if it were not in Marrakesh.
yes, for me, I lived it like as a whole experience. So
Mm.
you had 154 Marrakesh in the Mamounia, you have Dada, but you have all the other aspects of the fair, with the talks, with the gallery tours, with I mean, there are more initiatives maybe than in many other fairs, which are just contained in one place. So I found it super interesting. Uh,
Yes,
and I've been in London too. It's quite different because, as you said, it's part of London Art Week. So it's, yeah, there's many to see, but not necessarily linked to 154. And
yes,
Marrakesh, I felt like everybody was experiencing maybe hand in hand, hand by hand. And,
exactly.
yeah,
Work. Understood.
so I
No,
liked
you're
it very
completely right. I think that's part of the fact that people who, when they come to Marrakesh, they obviously come for 154, and they kind of like, in a way, at our mercy to, guide them through the city, to make sure that they visit as many, events as possible. And I think that's something where in a city like London or in New York that are so competitive, with their own cultural events, that also it's harder to make the same experience. We try, around 154 to have a VIP program in London and in New York, but we are competing against,
course.
some of the incredible galleries of each of those cities, who are obviously beyond, our geography in terms of focus. So it's always it's always harder because of the fact that it's more competitive in so many ways. But also Marrakesh, I think people, because of the city itself being also a very touristy city in many ways, has this hospitality attached to it, where you are coming in a destination where you're going to be part of an immersive experience, and you let yourself, in a way, being guided by, the cultural program in this case. But like it could have been, the fact that it feels also like it's a small, party of some kind, or like a small wedding, where you see the same people over and over again
What
during the
I felt, yeah.
yes, yes, which is a very nice feeling. At least you're never alone doing your events, and you recognize, people as you go along. But I think we're very attached to Marrakesh. It's not our biggest fair, but it's definitely the one that is the dearest to our heart in terms of, the experience it gives to people.
And so, yeah, I mean, the global recognition of African contemporary African art has been like has boomed. I mean, it has grown tremendously since the inception of 154 London. So, I'd like to know in what ways you have experienced this shift. I mean, in terms of perception and value.
So it's very funny for me to see this landscape changing, because when you're in it you don't really see it, because I mean in a way you feel like you want to see a constant development, constant growth. You don't want to see a boom or a trend. You're like really trying to build a strong strong market. But I think my first realization where I saw this very important in a way engagement of the audience with 154, with African art, with all that came, it's also when we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. And I'm saying that because we had this panel of discussion of where do we go from now, because obviously 154 being so small in terms of structure and independent structure as well, we've always been able to, in a way, respond to the need of the artists, of the galleries, and trying to make sure that we were relevant, like in terms of our mission. And with the 10 years anniversary, we had the chance to have a panel with one young artist, one older artist, one young curator, one older curator. And the realization, which was a very good realization, to be honest, is like for the young artist, young curator, this was something they always knew. They went to school, 154 existed. They came out of school, it was one of their paths, to make it to the market. And it was absolutely not the landscape, I described, in 2013, where you couldn't find any exhibition on contemporary African art. There was no, of our galleries included in those mainstream art fairs. Those were the realities of 2013, but not the realities of 2022. They were completely different. And I feel like in a way we are extremely privileged that the artists today don't have to go through such a difficult journey, to make it to the market, and be also to be able to stay where they're from, on the continent, to be able to produce and to be part of the international market from their own countries, from their own point of inspiration, so that for us it's an amazing, I guess, progress and testament to growth in many ways. But it's true that some of the artists we've seen over the last, I want to say 12 years now, that have, started with the fair, or even, joined the fair when it started to happen, have in many ways, in terms of appreciation, for some of them grew from, 50 to 300%, in terms of their value. And as much as the journey is long, because they started from very low, so it doesn't mean that we are all doing so well in terms of where the value of those artists should be, but it definitely means that there's definitely a recognition on the appreciation of those artists and this geography in general. And there's definitely more inclusion in international exhibition, from museums to private shows to galleries, including now more artists from the African descent in general, in their programs. So we are seeing, a real recognition and appreciation of those artists. And it's in a way something that, I want to continue, that I don't want to, we talk as a boom, because I don't want that the boom is over and, this whole thing disappear as well with it. So I think, it's a well-deserved appreciation. It's a well-deserved growth. A lot of those artists that you've seen, doing so well has also, proven to actually, being included in unbelievable, biennale to museum shows to, so their, growth on the secondary market even, is in a way justified. There will always be, a few speculation here and there, but this is, part of the market game, in a way. There's not much we can do about it. But it's all about continuing our effort to make sure that those artists are still visible, and that we are, continue to be a place of discovery, so people have a better understanding of this part of the world. But, over the years, we very focused on Africa, but we always been, Africa and the African diaspora. So wherever we went, it has always been, the case. And that also has been a different audience, but with the same kind of problematic. So it's always been quite easy to to support, the diaspora, because the element of, not having access to the market, not having access to the right galleries, not being, shown in international mainstream event, has been also the same problem that, an artist based on the African continent versus an artist, from African descent, based in Europe or in the US, have faced, so we are, happy to be the platform to support those artists, to make sure that they are, part of the larger, narrative when it comes to the art market, the appreciation, the value, the institutional side of things. They have to be part of the stories, that are being told. And I think being, in a way, present in those access points. New York is an art capital of the world. London is one. We're trying to, do a little introduction in Hong Kong to also have
Yeah.
access to this audience as well, and make sure that, we are able to give visibility in another new market.
Yes,
Mm.
because I'd like to talk a few more minutes about the Hong Kong edition, because it's just, so you are launching it this year, and it opens in the next 2 weeks, like in a couple of
Exactly.
weeks. And it's going to take place at the same time of Art Basel. And so why choosing this location? And I don't know, what can we expect from this new chapter?
So to be fair to 154, we always wanted to go to Asia a bit more earlier, to be honest. Like, this was something that was in the plans, in 2019, but there's different events that happened in Asia, then COVID happened, and then, we had to delay that whole initiative for a couple of years now. I think it is the right time for us as an organization to be able to take it on. I think the idea was, how can we introduce to, an audience who is so far away of what we've been doing. London, New York is not the next door to Asia, and in many ways, in a way, we have to restart from the beginning, like in making the introduction, the correct one for an audience that has not heard about 154, is not so knowledgeable about contemporary African art, because it has not been presented to them. So what we've decided is to create a show called Coalescent Light, which is kind of representing, I guess, in many ways, the artists who have been, in many ways, the ambassadors of 154, in the growth of the market, but also in showing the diversity and the multiplicity of the creatives in Africa. So we decided to kind of, in a way, represent, those the artists being the lights, and trying to showcase them, in this audience during a bit of the same strategy during a major art fair, at the same time, that is attracting collectors from all over Asia, and that will, benefit from that particular visibility at that particular moment of time. We are also partnering with Christie's on this, because they've been one of our global partners in terms of many other initiatives, but one of the initiatives.
Especially for Paris.
Yes, exactly. So we were able to do the pop-up in Paris with them. And because of their branding being so strong there and us being so new, as I think it's the perfect collaboration, because they are bringing their name, not because they're participating in choosing, the artist or anything, but I think for somebody who doesn't know much but knows art, they might be more intrigued that, we are there with Christie's, understanding that those artists today has also a secondary market value, which I think is quite big in Asia, to make sure that, the collectors who are sophisticated and interested, to understand the value of those artists from not only, a sophisticated, lovely aesthetic value, but also for an appreciation value in terms of in a way, a dollar value for now and for the future. So it is a great platform to initiate such project, and I'm sure that um the association of 154 Christie's, Art Basel, during that particular moment will be, allowing us to have the maximum visibility for those artists and the galleries who are sharing the work that will be displaying in Christie's.
Thank you so much, Touria. And I have to say that I'm looking forward to discover what it's going to be. But I think it's going to maybe extend in the next few years in Hong Kong, and maybe as in London and New York, it's going to blossom. I hope so.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Um, I don't want to blossom too much because then it's a lot of work, but we can blossom in Hong Kong for sure. And I mean, the idea is really continue what we're doing because it's important. The cities that are already, part of our own, I guess, a three continent kind of a thing,
Yeah,
are very important. If we're able to, be part of the Asian, the Asian week in many ways, the Asian Art Week, it would be amazing. It would be amazing to give access, to a group of collectors that might want to know more just from an educational side, and might be curious about, different artists coming from, Africa, the African diaspora. I think it's kind of like the same story that happened to us in New York, in London. It was all about access. So hopefully this is also, the proof that, people are all interested about artists coming from the continent. It's just a question of giving them access.
I'm sure of it.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Touria. It has been a real pleasure to delve into 154 with you, and thank you for your time and your thoughts. And I wish you lots of luck with this Hong Kong edition.
Well, thank you, Pauline, and I'll see you in Hong Kong.
Sure. Bye, Touria.